Hello again. Alright, looks like it's time for our second journal here. So, through the second Red Badge of Courage, again, second section of Red Badge of Courage, Stephen Crane. We left off with the beginning of a battle. This regiment of Henry, or the young, or the youth, however you'd like to call him. His regiment has set up on this ridge, and they're basically awaiting battle to start. And right as they arrive at the scene, there's a couple different people who, or not different people, but there's kind of a split between the soldiers. There's one group who kind of sits around just waiting for battle, calm, cool, and collected. And there's this other group of people who frantically starts putting rocks down, building up walls, trying to protect themselves for the oncoming battle. And it kind of alludes to, you got this group over here, the calm ones, who pretty much know they're going to stay for the battle, and the ones building it up, trying to protect themselves, you're pretty sure they're just going to run away. And that's quite honestly what ends up happening during the fight. The first wave begins to come, and everyone's stationed on the ridge. One person takes off right away. So there's one runner, but everyone else pretty much holds their position, and there's this just first wave of fighting in which the real mentality of the soldiers is beginning to come out, and you're reflected upon, or that's reflected upon you as the reader through Henry's mentality, the youth, and you really see this transformation when battle begins. He gets this feeling of the gun, almost being one with his weapon and one with the regiment. He's one with this line of soldiers, and they just keep taking people out. They peer through the smoke, awaiting the right chance, and they basically just completely repel this army off the first wave. And it's a real confidence builder for them. They did lose a lieutenant. One also was shot in the hand. There's a couple losses of the battle. A few people ran away, but overall, it's a great success. Their first experience in battle, and for them, it's a real confidence builder. But they are kind of left in shambles. About 3/4 of their regiment left. They're kind of scattered though, and out of form when a second wave starts to come. And at this point in time, our main character just books it, just takes off and lets his fear overtake him, and what he thinks is reasoning, of which very well is to any common person, reasoning. It's his job, he believes it is, as part of the army, to protect himself, because otherwise there wouldn't be any soldiers left. If you don't protect yourself, everyone needs to protect themselves and then reform. But the bad part of this mentality is that's not really how the army works. You follow orders, and the army operates under the same orders. If runners weaken the army. So our main character, the youth, runs away, and when he leaves, he's kind of in like a craze. He just sprints straight for a couple miles. And then that starts slowing down and thinking about things and justifying. And he's looking for any justification he can find. And he finds a justification in nature, which I think is a weird theme about that Crane brings up. Out of his frustration, the youth throws a pine cone at a squirrel, and the squirrel runs away. And he finds his justification in this of there's this obvious danger coming at the squirrel, and the nature has shown him this is what you should do when danger approaches you and you face danger. You need to run in order to protect yourself, and then possibly get back at it at another time. And there's this weird connection proposed with nature throughout this second section of the book, where when the fighting is happening, it's almost as if the nature halts, as our main character, the youth, describes it. Everything in the forest seems to stand still as battle's happening, and then as battle ceases, the nature again then starts picking itself up. It's almost this counter relation and no coexistence, almost like Crane, I think, is trying to comment on that fighting and nature weren't meant to be as one, and it's just this overall comment of nature is against fighting and against this war. So later on, we're moving through the chapter, and our main character, the youth, sees a lieutenant and the general talking. And all of a sudden, this messenger runs up saying, "They held the front, they held the front." And this is speaking of his regiment holding the line. And it's kind of really lets down our main character, because he thought for sure they were done. There was no chance that they were going to hold the line. That's why he left, in a sense. So, really disappoints. Not really disappoints, because he's happy that his regiment made it through, but it makes him feel bad about himself that he ran away. So shortly after this, there's the battle is won, and the wounded, what is left of them, and the soldiers that are left over are marching back to be encamped again, and our main character, the youth, Henry, just kind of slips in with them as if he was there the whole time, and starts talking to this wounded soldier, which I don't remember if he was called the Cripple or what he was called. Let's see here if I can find it. Let's see. The youth, no, Jim. I'm not finding it right now. But there isn't. The tattered man, he calls him, the tattered soldier, tattered man. The tattered soldier is this just completely beat up, shot a few times in battle, and has this facade to him, of which this is where the real red badge of courage comes out. And he comments upon the tattered man as having this. There's this courage you get from being wounded in battle. Of I beat death. I've stood strong for my country. Or side, technically the North, but I've stood strong in battle. I can get through this. I have this courage now about me when going into battle, and just about me in general. And there's this effect that all these soldiers in the line seem to have, but our main character's missing, and he feels almost like everyone's judging him, and everyone can see this about him, that there's something wrong, that he actually missed the fight, when in actuality I don't think any one of them do. The tattered man actually asks him, "Oh, where were you hit?" And he kind of runs away and gets out of there. And so he's really kind of feeling bad about himself, really terrible about himself. And then he sees the tall soldier again, Jim Conklin, and he's been shot a few times. His side looks like he's just been gnawed by a wolf. He's torn up, very close to death, and he just keeps on trucking. He's running. He's just running away, saying, "Get away from me! Get away from me!" Because he doesn't want the help of others, because he thinks he can do it himself. He needs to do it himself, because he has this red badge of courage. He was wounded in battle, and he has this strength, this overcome, and he basically ends up having convulsions and dying, muscle spasms, the whole deal, right in front of our main character, the youth. And there's just this overcoming sorrow from the youth, this feeling bad of I should have been there beside this soldier, and really this regret of, why don't I have a wound? Why can't I have this red badge of courage, this strength about me, this will to stay in battle, and really just wants something of that nature. And so a lot of this section of the book was just to bring in the main theme of the book, of the red badge of courage, and kind of not juxtapose, but comment on nature and its non-coexistence with war. And so yeah, we leave off there with the march back to camp, and I'll pick up pretty soon for the third journal. So see you in a bit.